name is Nicole Fiore, and I roller skate. You know the old school roller skates, 2 in front, 2 in back? Yeah, those ones. I'm gonna be teaching you how to roll and entertaining you along the way. Come roll with me. Hi guys. So I already recorded this tutorial, but it didn't focus on me, so the whole thing was blurry, so I am recording this again. Unfortunately, I was in a really cool outfit and I had really cool makeup on because it was Halloween, but I didn't want to put that all on today, so you get me as me. Today we are going to talk about competition, and I have a lot of experience in this department. I was an artistic roller skater for many years, competitively, and I won 4 world championships and a bronze medal in senior in 2012 as well. If you have followed along on my journey and if you've been to any seminars that I've done, you have already heard this probably, but I had a lot of competition anxiety when I competed. I have been very open about this because I think it's really important for competitors to know that they're not alone in this and to try to find things that can help them. My family is filled with competitive roller skaters, so this was nothing new to me, nothing new to my parents, nothing new to anybody in my family, but I was a competitor my entire life. I started competing when I was 4 years old. I started at the bottom. I was young, I was not very good. I mean, I was good, but I was like skating against much older kids, and I started at the bottom, literally. I think my first regionals, I got last place. I think my second regionals, I maybe got second to last place. And by the time I qualified for nationals, I was like 9, so I had 5 years of competitive experience under my belt. And that's not really the case anymore because people don't start as young because there are so many sports to do. And in all honesty, the competition levels here in the US are way lower than they used to be, which is sad and unfortunate. But the level of skating has gotten very good. So anyway, there's pros and cons of that. As I got better and better, I obviously started placing higher and all that stuff, but I got so nervous. I started getting very, very nervous. And by the time I was winning, and by the time I had gone to Worlds my first year in 2007, I was 14, 15 years old. I was okay because I didn't expect anything. I just expected to place maybe the middle of the pack and not do really well. Fortunately, I won, and it was kind of a shock to the system because I really didn't expect it, in all honesty. And after that year, I started getting very sick and like physically sick before I competed. Now, I was very lucky because I had a great support system around me, my coaches, my family, my friends, even my competitors. They all kind of understood what was going on, and I was putting so much pressure on myself. I didn't have much pressure from anybody else. They didn't care. They wanted me to do well, but they didn't really care. It didn't matter to them if I placed well or not. It was all myself. So I was fully doing it to myself. But I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to win again. So the first time was a shock. I was like, great. You'd think I'd be like, okay, this was cool. I hope I can do this again. But no, I was like, I have to do this again. I don't know why I did that to myself, but it's perfectly natural. That's what a lot of us do. So I had to throw up pretty much before every competition that I did. It was awful. I specifically remember one time in 2009 that it was at regionals, and I'm sorry if this is gross, but I had to throw up. Like, I was fine. I was like, okay, I'm so good. I had like crackers and a Coke. Coke always made me feel better. Coca-Cola. But I had all that and I was feeling okay before regionals. And as soon as they said my name, they said Nicole Leonard out onto the floor. And I was like, and I had to go throw up, and I threw up real quick, went out on the skating floor and did my routine perfectly. That was the weird thing, like I didn't get sick while I was out there. I didn't have nerves a lot when I was out there. I'll get into that because that happened later. But like once I got sick and threw up, and then I could go out and do an okay program, like have no problem. It was really odd, but That's what used to happen. So I had to develop a strategy to try to get over this, and it made it better, but I didn't get over it. I had like a playlist that I would listen to every time before a competition. I had certain foods that I needed to eat beforehand. I had like a warm-up that I needed to do. I had certain things laid out, and this was, luckily I competed a lot. Like there were a lot of competitions in the season, so I had different things to try out. But it was working, kind of was getting better, but I had to start doing this in practice as well. So when you're at that level, you need to be able to have your body, like you need your routine to be committed to muscle memory. You need to be able to do the routine no matter what, because there could be many things that go wrong. At nationals, we've had like the weather is really bad and the power goes out. There's been water on the floor, and you need to be able to avoid the water like while you're fully doing your routine and meeting all your requirements and performing. We've had many things. You might be going through a breakup and you have to compete. You might be actually sick, like you might have a cold or the flu and you still have to compete. It could be anything. So you have to practice so much that you can do your routine and all of your requirements to the level that you need to do it no matter what. Luckily, that was the case for me. I did practice a lot, but I had to start making myself get sick before I even practiced, because it got to the point where it wasn't fixing itself. I knew it was going to happen, so I had to make myself sick. That may not be the right way to do this, but every time, after like 2 years of this happening, every time my coach would be like, okay, Nikki, it's time to do a routine, she'd go to turn my music on and I'd be like, hold on, and I'd go to the bathroom, throw up, come back out and do my routine. That was just my way of doing it because it wasn't getting better. Now, eventually it did get better after about 4 years of this, because I won for 4 years, and then my last year of what would have been my last year of junior roll class was 2011, and I decided not to skate. I was so burnt out. Like, I don't know how my competitors that I compete against then and are still competing, I don't know how you guys do it, props to you, but I couldn't. I did junior for 4 years, and then by the time I was, 15, 16, 17, 18, by the time I was 19 in 2011, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. I was so unhappy going into the rink and training, and I knew I needed a break. So I took that year off, which was very good and miserable at the same time, because when you take that initial year off, it's so hard. Like, I had to watch well, I didn't have to, but I wanted to watch nationals and watch my event. And it's like, I was still junior. It was my last year of junior. So it would have been like, not to say it would have been an easy win, but it would have been fairly easy to win that event again. But I couldn't do it. So watching that and watching Worlds and being like, I could have been there. But I knew for my own health, for my mental health, for everything, I needed to not do it. So anyway, that year went by. And then in 2012, I was senior, and I decided I wanted to try senior. And because I felt like I was leaving something on the table and I needed to try it. So I tried senior. Training that year was very different. I was a little out of shape, but I did fairly well, and I did very well. I got third at Worlds. I am hard on myself, and I'm like, that wasn't good enough. But my two competitors, and Anna's still competing, but Paula and Anna, they were amazing. They're still amazing. Paula is doing Cirque du Soleil now, and Anna is still competing. And I watch her videos all the time because I'm trying to learn the new dances, and she did the demos for that. Anyway, they were great. They're still great. But they beat me. But that year, I didn't get sick. And it was crazy. But something else happened. So it probably was because I wasn't as in shape and I hadn't done so many routines that year, but I didn't get sick beforehand, which was weird. I felt oddly calm. But then when I went out at Worlds for my free dance, I started my routine and just don't remember anything from the first half of the routine. I remember getting to the straight line and kind of waking up and being like, oh shoot, I'm at Worlds. Like mid straight line, I'm like realizing what happened. So I get that a lot now with my skaters, like that they don't know what's going on when they're out there, and that's a whole different level of nerves. So I didn't physically get sick, but I just kind of blacked out and just kind of went into a space where I, thank goodness, my body knew how to do the routine, but I didn't know what was going on. And that happens a lot, so that's a different thing. So if I had continued skating and competing, I would have tried to register that after experiencing that and make myself go into that space when practicing and running routines. But I stopped skating after that and I started coaching. And so now as a coach, I can kind of relate to my skaters when they're getting nervous. Now there are tons of levels of nerves. Everyone's nerves are different. And how we experience it, how we treat them is very different. But I didn't go to a psychologist. I listened to a bunch of psychologists on that subject and read a lot and tried to study it to try to understand it. But now everyone is so open about seeing psychologists and all that. Seeing a sports psychologist is very important if you are having, well, I think it's important for everyone, but especially if you are having difficulty in that department. If anything is stopping you from being the best that you can be, you should treat it. So I would definitely recommend seeing a sports psychologist if you are having these issues, and just be open talking about it. There's no shame in it. I've been very open talking about my experience. My competitor, I'm so lucky that I had so many good competitors because they all kind of understood and knew when I needed a break, like if I needed to not talk, if I needed to focus, if they needed to distract me and talk to me. I had very good competitors that kind of helped me along the way. So unfortunately not all competitors are like that. Some are mean and try to do the opposite to hurt their competition. But I was very lucky that I was friends with the people I was competing against, and they were very good about that with me. But yeah, let this be a space to talk about this. I am always open if you want to talk about it. If you have any questions, please let me know. There are ways of getting over it, and I think if you are open about it and you are talking about it, it will get better. So yeah. It's a new season right now. It's the beginning of a new season. So if this is something that you have dealt with for a long time, it's time to fix it, or try to at least make it better. Also, I want to add, this is not just about artistic roller skating. A lot of us experience anxiety in all forms of life. So any competition that you do, life is competition. So honestly, anything that you have anxiety with, it is important to face it and try to tackle it head on. Yeah. Well, that was fun. It'd be real tight if you liked this video, and hit that subscribe button while you're at it. Okay, bye. Okay, bye.